show you move. Good news, everyone. Don't you little giddy when you see onions have legs.
Welcome to 20th Century Boy. My name is Radio Mike, and this is the Inside of My Mind. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. This is the first episode of the podcast. Well, no, it's not. It's the fifth episode of the podcast, but it's the first episode of the podcast where I have a special guest on the podcast. According to Wikipedia, my special guest is a kind of telephone pole that is used for doing certain
Check your
things.
research again. I am a notable person. Jack Post, in brackets, radio presenter.
His name is Jack Post, aka Cackling Jack. He is currently doing breakfast radio with Gold 104.3 on the Christian O'Connell Breakfast Show. He is also perhaps best known as the panel operator and third character in the Hamish and Andy Show, now a podcast.
Yep.
Jack, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, Mike, thanks for having me.
Is that it?
That's it, yeah.
Christian O'Connell Show, man. How's it going? How's it been this year?
Yeah, it's good. And thank you for your critiques on it and feedback. Because you listen to it almost every morning, I feel.
It's my alarm. I have a clock radio alarm, and I listen every morning. It goes off at about 6:30 a.m., so I get an hour of listening in, most of which is ads and music, but I do hear your voice sometimes.
Oh, don't even. I can't be associated with the podcast, your podcast, if you say that. No, there's a shitload of ads on there.
No, it's sounding great, though, man. Like, it seems like a really creative endeavor for you. And tell us about this Wikipedia thing. I'll chuck a grab in from the Christian O'Connell Show here.
If you search Jack Post on Wikipedia, Jack Post, the radio presenter, does not exist on Wikipedia. This is the response I got. Your submission's references do not show that the subject qualifies for a Wikipedia article. Jack Post is not famous. Stop pretending he is.
I thought you were somebody.
I don't know.
You
Don't
exist.
make me say I want to be on Wikipedia.
But you do. Not just that. You're a busy guy with stuff going on. Why are you putting time?
I'm not that busy. After the show, I'm not that busy. Yes, I tried to get myself on Wikipedia unsuccessfully. That was a week and a half ago. And now, with the help of other people on Instagram, people who message me and have higher editing rights on Wikipedia, I was able to get on there. I actually thought you might come to my aid because you've edited Wikipedia articles before.
I tried to create a Wikipedia article for the Luke and Lewis show, which I work on, and I also tried to add myself to the notable alumni for my high school, but I got deleted from it immediately. And there's like so many like Vance Joy's on there, Chet Faker's on there. There's a guy from High Five on there, and then I just put Radio Mike, well-known radio button pusher for the Luke and Lewis radio show, and it just immediately got cut from it.
Oh, I'll see if mine has it. I went to Q High School.
I think I put you in the Q High School one,
You
but
put
I'm
me
not
in
sure if
notable.
it's still there. Yeah, a while ago.
I've only had a Wikipedia for 2 days.
No, but I wrote it without a link. I just wrote Jack Cackling Jack Post button pusher for the Hamish and Andy podcast.
See, you do edit Wikipedia.
Yeah, I do.
See, when I tried to make my own Wikipedia entry, I had never edited Wikipedia before. So the first thing I had to do is it said, before you make an article, you have to edit 10 Wikipedia articles, existing articles.
Yeah, right.
To get to get your points up, Wikipedia points. And then you can make your own article. But then it got banned, or it didn't get banned, they just didn't accept it. So some boffin at Wikipedia has gone, he's not actually that famous. And
Who do you reckon's more famous, you or Corey Worthington?
Well, his name's not Corey, it's Corey.
Corey Worthington.
So he's not that famous.
Yeah, I don't think he has a Wikipedia page, but
I'll tell you the difference between our fame.
Yeah.
Mine is a long, slow burn.
Yeah.
That will light a house like a candle for many hours. His is like a flashbulb on a camera. The house was really bright for one day, but then the flash is off and you never hear about him again.
I didn't actually plan to talk about Corey Worthington, but can I actually ask you something?
Yeah.
You know how like thousands, for those who don't know, Corey Worthington threw a big party in Melbourne like 10 years ago. I'll chuck some audio in from something about it here.
Well, it's the real-life risky business. A teenager holds an alcohol-fueled party for hundreds of kids while his unsuspecting parents are on holiday. 16-year-old Corey Worthington is now facing not only the wrath of mum and dad, but a $20,000 fine from police.
So I always wondered, like, so many people went to that party, right? But I have never met anyone that went. It is my mission in
so
life.
many people, like 150 people.
No, it was like 1,000 kids
Really?
showed up. I want to meet. My goal in life is to meet someone who went to Corey Worthington's party and have them on this podcast.
Yeah, that's a great ambition to have.
Yeah.
No, well, we would have been too young. Even I was too young then.
I was in year 8 because I remember at school they were like, guys, today we're doing a debate. Is Corey Worthington a legend or not? And
What?
yeah,
Wait, the teachers ran that?
Yeah,
or the
so
students?
the school counselors used to come into religion class.
Yeah.
My school was so barbaric. And like they were like, today we're doing personal development. It's where you do like sex ed and drug ed and driver's ed.
Right.
And then it was like Corey Worthington up. And then they're like, guys, today we're doing Is Corey Worthington a legend? Discuss. And then like half the class had to be, yeah, Corey Worthington's a legend. And then half the class had to be, no, Corey Worthington's very irresponsible and shouldn't have thrown a party.
Which side did you debate for?
I think I had to debate for the against Corey Worthington side, which obviously I don't believe in because I think he's a fucking legend.
So then
yeah.
did they do something at the end of the class where it's like, all right, well, the right answer is actually he's not a legend.
I think
and what he did wasn't legendary.
Yeah, I think the teachers were always going to side with the team that was saying, no, he's not a legend. Like, the teachers weren't going to be like, you know what, guys?
Yeah.
The affirmative side has a really strong argument, so I think they win.
Yeah. We want that for this school. Who could stand up and have an open invite party that will get on the news?
Who can be this school's Corey Worthington and be on the notable alumni for our school in 10 years' time?
I couldn't even... do you think you would even recognise him if you saw him? Because his fame came so much from the yellow sunglasses.
Yeah.
Take off your glasses and apologise to us.
I'll say sorry, but I'm not taking off my glasses.
Why not?
Because they're famous.
Because your glasses are famous.
Yeah.
Do you think you would know what he looked like as a normal human?
Yes, but only because I've closely followed his career ever since. I know exactly what he looks like. And I know that he's married because he was on like Studio 10 or something like a few years ago.
Of course,
talking
he's like
about
an adult.
how I changed after the Corey Worthington extravaganza.
Yes, I was a legend, but now I've grown up and I'm also responsible.
School's debated over it for a long time. Yes, the answer is I am a legend. Corey Worthington, if you listen, I'd love to have you on one day. Jack, I want to chat to you about because you're like one of the most creative and funny and like really talented guys I've ever met in my life. You're an amazing musician, which we'll talk more about later. Creatively speaking, you've been on the Hamish and Andy Show, which I know you're more or less a writer on that show. You contribute a lot of creative content.
Thank you, Mike.
You're also on air on that show. Oh, actually, before we do this, I don't know do you listen to this podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I have an intern on this podcast.
Yeah, I met him before I came in.
Yeah, like, I didn't want to do this on air, but he's a massive old school Hamish and Andy fan. He's really like, okay, intern Mike. Yeah. Could you, come on, I want you to meet Jack live on air. No, my mum said I'm not allowed to meet Jack and I just have to do my work. Nah, come on, man. Come on. Do you mind chatting to intern Mike?
No, Mike, intern Mike, come on. Can I sign you an autograph maybe?
Hi, Jack. I love Hamish. I'm 14 and this is my work experience, but I love Hamish and Andy and I love and I hate it when they make fun of you. I think
Thanks,
you're
Mike.
really funny and like it's funny when they make fun of you, but it's also mean. It's cool to meet you. I love the Bitcoin song you did. Maybe we'll throw some of the audio here. No, you don't get to say that, intern Mike. I get to... Okay, guys, we're going to throw some of the audio... Mike, I want you to get off the mic now. We're going to throw some of the audio from the Bitcoin song here.
You won't be surprised to hear I smiled from ear to ear when Bitcoin crashed. I am so happy. I am so happy. I am so happy that happened to me.
Bullshit on this.
I am so happy.
Sell them all.
I am so happy that happened to me.
Give them away then.
Yeah, great, man. Intern Mike, never throw to audio again. That's not... your
Mike,
responsibility.
intern Mike, it was lovely to meet you as well. And
Thanks, Jack.
that's all right. Hey, let me get you an autograph. Just 1 second. I've got PA Jack here, personal assistant Jack.
Oh, do you have
personal assistant Jack.
What's it like working for Jack?
Wait. Hey, personal assistant Jack, can you get one of those autograph cards for intern Mike? Oh, yeah, I've got a whole stack of them, but we're nearly out because you get asked for an autograph all the time. All right, we'll just get one of the old ones. Oh, we don't. You said not to use these anymore. I know, but we've gone through the good ones, so get one of the old ones. Yeah, give me that. That'll do. Thanks, mate. Oh, no worries. Hey, I'll just go move your car. I think you parked in 1 hour and it's already expired. Thanks, mate.
Intern Mike, can you move my car as well? Because you do that for me. I'm not allowed because I'm 14 and I don't have my license yet. Do it, Mike. Why do we have you on this show if you can't fucking help us? Oh, all right. Sorry, man.
That's all right.
Intern Mike's so useless.
No, he's actually good. Like, you think about yourself when you were 14.
Well, I mean, I think that's the metaphor of what this intern Mike thing is all about.
Oh, right.
But no, he is such a delinquent. I hate having him on the team. Good thing he's.
How long do you have to put up with him for? Usually they do work experience for 1 week, and he was here last week. So
no, he's doing a 10-week intense
wow.
work experience, and then Editor Mike's talking about maybe even giving him a job after, because Editor Mike does all the employment here.
Really?
So, yeah, I bloody take care of all the employment here because Mike's too bloody busy doing all these other stuff. Yeah.
So what kind of stuff will intern Mike do when he's working full time?
Probably just like all the boring jobs.
Oh, sorry, I was asking Editor Mike.
Yeah, probably like what Mike said. Probably just all the boring jobs. Anyway, Editor Mike and Intern Mike, get out.
Come on, guys.
It's not called Editor Mike 20th Century Boy. It's called Radio Mike 20th Century Boy. Jesus Christ, only a mother could love it. Hey, Jack, I wanted to actually ask, creatively speaking, Christian O'Connell show, you're off the panel, you're in studio, you're in every break, whereas Hamish and Andy, you're sort of more behind the scenes writing, but you do pop up in like maybe 1 in 3 breaks.
Yep.
Creatively, is it different? Is it the same? How do you feel between both shows? Because you're still doing both.
Yeah, good point. Both of them are definitely run by the person whose name is on the show. So Hamish and Andy, they create most of their own content. They choose what goes to air. Same with Christian. He's very much the executive producer of his own show. So
and Andy's a lot like that. With
Andy's
Hamish
a lot
and
like
Andy,
that. Yeah. So even though we have an executive producer on both those shows, they're really just a glorified normal producer. And you heard it here first, Brad Sheehan, who works on Christian O'Connell.
Jack Post demotes executive producer live on Radio Mike's podcast. Scandal Issues.
Of not 1 but 2 shows.
just before we go on with this, like every time me and Jack like talk about something mildly scandalous in the radio industry, I like go, oh, right. There's this website called radiotoday.com.au, which just does all the radio news of the day.
Only radio people would ever visit it.
Yeah.
It's not a widely looked at news website.
Yeah, and say like Jack's like, oh, I listened to this podcast today. I didn't like it that much. I'll be like, oh, radiotoday.com.au. Jack Post slams new podcast of up and comer labeled as a hater.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I still think you should do, one of your great ideas is to do a satirical radio industry website, like Batuta Advocate is for normal news, but you just do radio news.
Yeah, really small demographic, but I so want to do it because I think it would be so funny. But sorry, what you were saying about
but then both of those, Hamish and Andy and both Christian, are very open to ideas being thrown at them. So I don't know. Yeah, I pitch a lot of ideas for both of those shows, and a lot of the best stuff you've ever heard on both of them came out of my little brain.
Yeah, it is little, but it has big ideas.
Can I say? What would you say is the most famous clip of Hamish and Andy that went viral?
Was it the world's greatest bloke?
Yep.
I'm going for a job at an accounting firm, but just say that I'm put you down as a personal reference.
Yeah, sweet. I'll just say I know you from way back, blah, blah, blah. I'll say you're a ripper bloke. You know, I've got you covered.
Is that all right?
Yeah, not a problem, dude.
Where do you think the idea germinated?
Germinated?
Is that a
mean
word?
Began? I guess so.
Germinated.
I thought you were like saying, oh, where did you think that idea German? And I was like, oh, is this like a copy of a German thing that some German radio show did? I mean,
Otto and Unke.
I would say that it possibly originated from either Hamish and/or Andy, but based on the discussion we're having, I have a feeling it may have been your idea.
It started in my brain. Sure, I say it, and then we all build it together. But it started right here in this little brain. And that's just an example of one of many of all your loved Hamish and Andy ideas that I came up with.
But you do contribute. I think you have like a little bit of an...
Radiotoday.com.au, Jack Post claims.
Takes credit for all Hamish and Andy's best segments. No, I do think that you like, you are a bit underrated. I think the listeners don't realize the extent at which you're contributing behind the scenes to a lot of the content that goes to air on HNA. Because you are there as a producer and writer and a character. And what I think's so amazing about you, Jack, and I don't think you realize this, but you've actually named a role in radio, right? Like, when I tell people, I'm a panel operator for this show called The Luke and Lewis Show, everyone responds always the exact same way, where they're like, oh yeah, so you're kind of like the Jack of that show.
Yeah,
right?
I heard that just last week. I did a podcast called The Daily Talk Show with Josh Jansen and Tommy Jackett.
Great show.
And they
talk every day, so you don't have to. It's the Daily Talk Show. No, it's a great podcast.
They have a guy called Mr. 97 who runs their audio and back end.
He's sort of like their Jack.
He's sort of like their Cackling Jack.
Yeah. So, like, and people say to me in the industry, like, people who are doing new shows, because I work on a lot of, like, development shows, and they're sort of like, oh, like, you know, like, our show's sounding so good, but we need a Jack. We need that third voice, which I think, like, can be really important in a lot of shows, to have a distinguished third voice.
Yeah, you know what I like about that, and it definitely worked for me, is if you're staffing a radio show from a management point of view, you're going to put 3 well-known people on a show because that just makes sense. Or you're going to try and get who you think is the best talent for a show. But then these shows came along like Hamish Andy that don't have an anchor. And what an anchor is the person who brings you out of songs and puts you into the songs and ads.
Yeah.
So Andy looks after that for Hamish and Andy. And then because they don't have an anchor who's that third person on that show traditionally, they have just a panel operator who sits in the studio. So it's a really unique role. They're in there the whole time, but they're not required to ever talk. And what I think is interesting about having that person's dynamic on the show is they're not a radio professional. They haven't been chosen by management because, oh no, he's a zany guy, or like, oh, he's the really professional one, so he'll be able to do this, and this for you. It's just a really normal person, and I think that's what they liked about using me on Hamish and Andy, is because I wasn't somebody who management had put there. I just got there like by being a panel operator, and you like you on Luke and Lewis, like if they had been staffing that show, they put another comedian in there, or like a professional, probably more likely a professional radio announcer, somebody who does like the jock
the music
role.
shift or something like that.
But it wouldn't have been real, you know. Like that's what they get most out of you on the show, is like you're just a real guy, and you're not trying to be polished and professional.
And was it a natural evolution for you on HNA in terms of, like, I assume from day one when you started, you weren't in there pitching ideas and you weren't keen to be on air?
No. Well, I was. So I got into radio because I wanted to be on air, and I didn't even know about, like, when I first started community radio at Sin FM, where you started. I didn't even know about producers. We got given a producer for the breakfast show the first time I did it, and I didn't know what that meant. So I was like, "What? Like, so what do they do?" It's like, "Oh, well, they'll help you, like, put the show together and edit the podcast." So I was like, "Oh, okay, they edit the podcast. So I don't know what this guy does." But a producer is essentially the person who. Who cares what a producer does? That wasn't the question.
Well, you've already trashed producers enough on this podcast. So
RadioToday.com.au, Jack Post says producers are worthless and not needed in the industry. But I wanted to be on air. But when I got to Hamish and Andy, I already came in as a fan of the show because it already had 2 years, like 2006, 2007 of drive. And then I got there in 2008, and I still wanted to be on air, but I thought, well, this part of my journey is not about being on air. It's about learning from these guys and seeing how I can help. But honestly, even though I felt like I had good ideas, I didn't probably have the guts to pitch an idea for those guys for a year, I reckon. And then I spent another year pitching ideas that didn't make it on air, and then finally started to get like a little thing here or there. So it's a long process, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of similar with me on Luke and Lewis in terms of, like, just being around, and then it's like, hey, you're paneling this show. And then, like, just by being around those guys who are naturally funny guys, they start to pick up on your little quirks and find them funny. And then that's how I kind of learned to kind of bring those quirks into the show, because I knew the boys would find them funny.
Yeah.
There is an element of theatrics in radio. Like, it's not just...
Like you emphasize or exaggerate your own personality.
Yeah, like Hamish and Andy are so similar to who they are off air, on air. But when the mics go on, you kind of become the radio version of yourself in a way. Like you heighten it a bit.
So what I liked about you and Luke and Lewis is because they were brand new to radio as well, they really involved you straight away. Like you were a big part of that show from what I listened to.
Yeah, and those guys are super generous, and I think I got their humor, which was great, and they were really generous with how they wanted to use me on air, and I thought they could always get the best out of me to make the show funnier, whether it was making me look like an idiot, which I'm fine with, but they knew how to get the best out of me and my quirks, which I think they do really well with a lot of the team, and I think H&A do that really well as well.
Yeah, and Christian O'Connell, the show I'm working on now, is really good at that as well. He's such a generous broadcaster, and what I mean by
I've
that,
noticed that a lot.
is he really wants the person he's talking to shine as well, and sometimes that is taking the piss out of them, but it's also making them seem like they're a lot funnier than what they've said. And what I like about him as well is like it's a less two-dimensional role for me as a sidekick on that show, whereas like he'll still make fun of me for saying something stupid or being irresponsible or whatever it is, the same stuff on Hamish and Andy, but he also puts a bit more dimension to it where you get to be a more well-rounded person and more like your real self.
And so the Christian O'Connell show's in Melbourne 6 till 10 a.m. weekdays.
Yeah.
It's the only brekkie show going till 10, I think, which is a UK kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because Christian's from the UK, obviously. You can get the podcast everywhere. Go check it out. It's great. Listen to, half an hour on your morning drive to suss it out because Jack's great on it. Christian's great. It's a great team. Really, really fun show. H&A podcast is there as well. This podcast is called 20th Century Boy.
But people have already got this podcast.
No, I'm segueing. This is a segue.
Okay, sorry.
So
Thought you were like, you can find it on iTunes or your podcast app. It's also on YouTube if you want to look there.
This podcast is 20th Century Boy. You're a 20th century boy. You're a bit older than me. You're an 80s kid, right?
Yep. Late 80s.
Late 80s. Yeah, you're not
young.
that old.
No.
What are you, 87?
89-ish, 7.
You're not 89.
What?
You're not. You're a fair bit older than me.
This is funny. So I set this Wikipedia page up last week. I was actually thinking about. Now I'm not shy about my age yet, but I imagine one day if I am, it would be easier to lie about my age now rather than in 10 years. Because remember, Rebel Wilson had this whole thing about lying about her age.
Radiotoday.com.au. Jack Post lies about age. He's actually 54. Scandal. He's suing New Ideas.
So I thought, if now's the time to act. If I wanted to fake my age, I should do it now, but I didn't.
You're 86, I reckon. 1986.
No, I'm 87.
87. Okay, so you're 7 years older than me. And just to explain, we're going to launch into some chats about about pop culture and stuff that you grew up in. I do have a secret hidden segment that I didn't warn you about, but it could...
No, I said, PA Jack.
Oh, yeah?
I told you to tell me everything that was coming up on this podcast. I said, don't let Mike surprise me at all.
Oh, he didn't tell me. No, that's bullshit.
I'll show you the email.
Intern Mike, did you tell Jack about the secret segment? I might have forgot because I had my brother's first communion last week and I was going about and I think I forgot. This is why I don't like Intern Mike.
Hey, guys, hey, it's a mix-up. Look, let's not blame... it's obviously it seems like it's Intern Mike's fault. Hey, Jack, I'm sorry I yelled at you. I can see the email and you're showing it to me there. Yes, it all looks above board. We'll just blame it on Intern Mike and move on.
Guys, editor Mike here. Mike, do you want me to cut all this out of the podcast? No, leave it in. I want Intern Mike's future career to be hinged on this mistake that he makes. Sorry, Intern Mike, but you need to learn the hard way that you can't just make stupid mistakes like this. You could take down a whole radio station.
Yep. Editor Mike, before you leave it in, just can I have one word with PA Jack?
Yeah.
Hey, personal assistant Jack, do you think it's best that we take this segment out of this podcast because it seems a little bit unprofessional and... People like to see the authentic you, and this would be good for your image, is my guess. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, PA Jack. We'll keep it in. Actually, let's do the secret song again right now, and it is called. This is Post on Post,
where radio heavyweight Jack Post makes comments about Australia Post.
So I guess it's called Post on Post, and I assume the premise of I just thought of it as a funny name.
Yep.
I assume the premise of this segment is you just make a few comments about Australia Post, and then it finishes, and we continue the podcast.
All right. Can I tell you first?
Yeah.
We list when you
use
used to be
news reporter voice though. Like this is.
This is not my comments in Australia Post. This is just an anecdote.
Oh, right.
As Jack Post.
Okay.
You know when you used to be listed in the white pages? I guess
Yeah.
people don't do that anymore, but you list your family name and your phone number. We would have people call us thinking that we were the post office. But it's like, how did you find us? We're listed in the white pages as a family. Why do you think you're calling the Australia Post?
That just shows how silly some people can be, man.
Yeah.
That's like I was gonna say that's like calling someone whose surname is like fish and chips, but but no one really has that surname. Anyway, man.
Hey, I noticed, mate, talking about surnames, I noticed that you're trying to disguise your surname on the previous podcast.
This is Post on Post. Are we doing it?
But
or
well,
not?
like, why
we
do
can
you
talk
not?
about that after
Because if
Post
people
on
want to
Post.
find out about you,
All right, you know what? That was Post on Post, where Jack Post makes comments about Australia Post. I don't know why you had to ruin that segment and not participate in it, but yeah, like PA Jack said, we want to see the authentic side of you, and I think we have. He sabotages interviews and doesn't participate.
when you have the next guest, use it with them. When you do Vance Joy,
Post
do
on
Post on Post with Vance
Joy
Joy.
on Joy. Vance Joy makes comments
It's on
about
Joy
Joy.
FM.
Hey, so what were you into growing up as an late 80s, early 90s kind of teenager, I guess?
I wasn't a teenager in the late 80s,
I
early
don't know,
90s.
man. I didn't do my research. Anyone can edit Wikipedia. I didn't know if it was real or not. No, like what were you into?
I was into, so the kind of stuff you talk about, the only crossover we really have is Pokemon.
Oh, yeah.
I got the Pokemon Red when I was young and I loved it.
Yeah, who's your favourite Pokemon?
Caught all 150. You know what?
You didn't catch Mew then. There's 151 program.
No, I didn't, because I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
And I think you told me about that. It's
Yeah,
some kind of hack.
in Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue, the original Game Boy games, there's a glitch that you can sort of abuse to trigger a Mew to appear, right? And catch a Mew. Whereas there's no actual legitimate way of catching Mew in that game.
No, well, you never see Mew in that game.
No. So the only way to get it really is through like an official Nintendo event back in the day, or by using this glitch that people found like years later.
What's the official Nintendo event? You would go and trade with somebody?
Yeah, so Nintendo used to hold these events where they'd be like, hey, if you come to like EB Games, like this is hypothetical, you come to EB Games, bring your link cable, we'll transfer you a Mew from our Nintendo Game Boy. And that's how you used to get these legendary Pokemon in the games.
Well, we had the link cable because my brother had a Pokemon Blue and I had Red, and you have to get some Pokemons that are only in Pokemon Blue.
Yeah.
So you got to trade
also, Graveler and Machoke, I think, and Haunter only evolve if you trade them. So
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So Pokemon, but
you know when you used to play Pokemon battles with the link cable and then you're losing, so you just pull the link cable out. It's like, it just fell out, I swear. I don't know, it's so annoying. It was so close to finishing.
I don't remember doing battles over it. I only remember it for trading.
Yeah, right, you could battle as well.
Okay, did it affect your Pokemon in the game when you went back into the game?
No, you didn't get experience points or anything.
Yeah, okay.
What else?
Then a lot of my teenage years were spent listening to punk rock music. That started because in 1997, Green Day released Time of Your Life, Good Riddance.
Off the album, was
Nimrod.
it Insomniac or Nimrod?
It was on Nimrod.
Yeah.
And it was a song I loved.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road.
And I asked my mum and dad for Nimrod for Christmas, having no idea what the rest of Green Day's music sounded like.
Yeah.
And I remember putting it on Christmas Day, and in the first song off Nimrod, Nice Guys Finish Last, he swears. He says fuck, and I honestly remember feeling like, I would have been 9 or 10 years old, feeling like, uh-oh, this is not good. I can't be listening to I can't believe that this is true. I can't be listening to this. And so I must have said something, because then my dad goes, "Oh, how about I swap you my CD?" He got Paul Kelly, and Paul Kelly's greatest hits. And he's like, "I'll swap you Paul Kelly for Green Day." And I was like, "Yes, thank you, Dad." But then luckily, Dad still lived at the same house as me, so I could get his Green Day album and still find my appreciation for it after that day. And I love that album. That's still honestly my favorite album to this day. And I often wonder if that's because I have such a strong connection to it or because it's just an awesome album.
It's Green Day is one of my favorite bands. They're super, super interesting for so many reasons. But one of my favorite parts about them is their battle with being punk, being traditionally punk, which is sort of roots, underground, you don't sell out, you don't sign to a major label, and then the whole thing of, but we signed to a major label, right? And Green Day was shunned by a lot of the Southern Californian punk scene because they did Dookie in 1994.
Sorry, dude. They're from Northern California.
They're from Northern?
Yeah.
Oh, they're from Oakland, aren't they? Yeah. Anyway, guys, this has been the podcast. I'm not an expert
I'd
anymore.
keep going until I got something wrong.
Yeah, but they were shunned by the California.
They were,
punk scene.
So they used to play this famous venue called Gilman 924,
yes.
which when they signed to a major label, they were essentially kicked out of there.
Yeah, because this was like the worst thing you could do in the scene. And one of my favorite quotes from Mike Dirnt, who's the bassist in Green Day, and I'll try and find it and put it in, but they put out Dookie, then they put out Insomniac, which was like an angry follow-up to Dookie that was kind of like a response to all the backlash they got for doing a mainstream record.
Yeah.
Then they put out Nimrod, and they apparently they debated really heavily whether they should put out Time of Your Life or not because it was such a radically different song for them.
Yeah,
right?
well, Time of Your Life actually was written in that Dookie Insomniac stage, and I think it's on the B side of one of the singles,
Yes.
like I think Brain Stew,
a different version of it.
Yeah.
And they didn't put it on the album because it wasn't quote unquote punk enough,
Yeah.
right? When they decided let's put it on Nimrod, Mike Dirnt retrospectively said, when I look back on that moment, putting that song on the album and it becoming one of the most successful songs in the history of the world was probably the most punk thing we could have done because we didn't care. It was the time where we stopped caring about what people thought of us as a band.
Actually, Selling Out is the most kind of punk thing we could have done. It
Yeah.
seems like
Well, now they have a Broadway musical adaptation of American Idiot.
Yeah.
Don't wanna be an American idiot. One nation controlled by the media. Don't wanna be an American idiot. Don't wanna be an American idiot. Calling out to idiot America.
Somehow Green Day, by not being punk and doing the opposite of punk, is still being punk rock by like fucking the system that is punk rock.
But do you think their music, like, I feel like there's two halves to them: the American Idiot, pre-American Idiot, and after American Idiot.
I
It's
agree.
two pretty different bands.
Definitely. And the funny thing about Green Day is they kind of had two really mainstream periods. The first one was 94 with Dookie, which is when they skyrocketed with songs like, and I'll cut some in, songs like Longview. I think Welcome to Paradise was on that.
When I Come Around.
Cause you know where I'll be found when I come around.
They did Dookie, they kind of fell off the wagon a bit, and then all of a sudden they did American Idiot, and I was like, shit, they're back.
I'm just trying to raise your love. The Jesus of suburbia.
What do you think of like, which era do you prefer?
Oh, definitely. Well, I grew up with the first one. So the 90s era is, I mean, I love all three of those major label albums so much. Dookie, Insomniac, and Nimrod.
Yeah.
And Warning to an extent.
I love Warning. It's my favorite Green Day album.
Really?
I just think the direction they took in terms of going folk punk, like Bob Dylan, I think was an inspiration for that album. The tracks on it are so unique and just so fun to listen to.
Yeah. You know what, though, I find funny about that is the two major singles from that are kind of my least favourite songs on that whole album.
Is it Warning and Minority?
Minority, yeah.
There's a song on that album called Macy's Day Parade.
I love that song.
Which is, I'll cut a bit of that song here and I'll have it in the background.
Days of Macy's Day Parade. The night of the living dead is on its way.
It is honestly a beautiful, beautiful song. It's so gentle, it's calm, it's sad. It's probably one of my favorite Green Day songs.
I would love to see that song live. The thing is, they got so many hits now that they're kind of they can play a whole 2 hours of hits.
Yeah, and you don't get any.
And so you
deep
don't get
cuts.
any of the B side track.
What's your favorite Green Day song overall?
Oh God, that's tough. I don't know. I'd say Nimrod is my favorite album because I just love the first 6 tracks off that so much. Like I love listening to the start of that album. So, because that was the first album that I pretty much had, besides the Lion King soundtrack, which was my very first album.
Yes. Still still in my top 3.
I love that album so much, and it's 18 tracks, which is kind of a lot for an album.
Definitely.
And I always thought for a long time after that, I always felt like I was being shortchanged by albums that came out, especially when Warning came out and had 10 songs on it, and the previous album had 18.
Well, you must have been loving it when in the early 2010s, Green Day decides to put out a trilogy of albums.
That was too many. There is too many.
Dos and Trez.
Honestly,
and Trey.
that I can't really enjoy the. Well, I mean, I'm already not loving Green Day as much as I did in the 90s. So the trio album for me is the hardest to get into, and there are some songs on there that I really enjoy, but it feels like, you might write 35 songs to strip it down to 15 or 14 to make a great album, and this felt like, everything's allowed to get on these albums.
Yeah, and Billy Joe Armstrong has a very public meltdown on stage in like 2013 or 2014.
Let me fucking tell you something. I've been around since fucking 1988. And you're gonna give me 1 fucking minute? You gotta be fucking kidding me. I'm not fucking Justin Bieber, you motherfuckers.
Yeah, so we had a very public on-stage meltdown, and the publicity for those albums just died. And there was a bit of a failure in terms of, commercially, critically. Where do you go from here when you're a band like Green Day? Like, what do you do?
That's right. I still totally respect that they're trying to reinvent every time they go into the studio and make an album. So I'd much rather that than they just disappear off the face of the planet.
Yeah. Speaking of, I'd love to speak about Green Day forever. We have a band... we don't have a name yet. In fact, I believe one of the things we're doing on this podcast is trying to reach a verdict on the name of our band. A lot of people think our band is not real. It is a real band. We are writing and we're going to perform music. We have written about 8 to 10 songs so far.
How would you describe the genre of our band?
It's not a comedy band in the sense, we're not like Scared Weird Little Guys or like... Tripod. They're great bands. We're not like Weird Al. We're not doing parodies.
Yeah.
I know I'm not sure if you like this, but we have described it kind of as Tenacious D meets The Lonely Island.
Ooh.
Haven't we?
No, I don't know.
In that, it's
no, but that's fair. I feel like Tenacious D, well, more so than Lonely Island, they have, even though they're sort of like a joke, but they're not really, because they write real songs.
Yeah, but they're
as well. But then the content is kind of silly.
The songs are ironically funny, or they're not set up punchline.
It's not punchline type funny.
But it's this is conceptually kind of funny.
Yeah.
Shoot some. I think we're doing 3 band names each. So do you want to shoot? You said you have a really good one.
Yeah. Pitching you bad names. My first one. This is the one I texted you last night and said I thought of a good band name. Lick a Dick a Day.
I hate it. Lick a dick a day.
Didn't you have that in primary school?
No.
Do you lick a dick a day?
I don't want to participate in this. What is it? What's the setup?
Oh, well, you go up to somebody and go, "Do you lick a dick a day?"
And they go, "What?"
And then you go "Oh, don't you lick a dick a day?" And they go, "No, I do. Oh, you lick a dick a day.
That's terrible. We're not calling our band that.
Okay.
I've got one that's been thrown around a bit. Privately, but I want to and people who are listening, please feel free to comment on what you think is the best name of these.
Yes. Also, give us suggestions.
Yeah. So my first one is Stainless Steel. I got it I got it off a watch.
Yeah, I honestly thought you were joking. I thought you were trying to come up with the lamest band name when you said that.
Okay, fine. My second one is Cellophane Aeroplane.
I don't love it. Cellophane makes me like an aeroplane. I don't know. Neither of those words gets me jacked to listen to the music.
Okay, what's your other suggestions?
Friends with the Teacher.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that. We could go with Teacher's Pet, but that's already a very popular investigative podcast. So my last one, and we've talked about this off air, but I want to make a case for it on air.
See, I thought you were going to pitch me new ones.
No. So, and I reckon the listeners will love this. It's Gyarados Jones.
No, it's bad. It's bad.
The reason... No. Can I make a case for it? So, Gyarados is a Pokemon who's this big blue dragon, right? And then think of a guy just called I don't know,
Gary Jones.
Stephen Jones or something, who's a rich white guy in his 50s who has a top hat, a monocle, a cane, and wears a suit everywhere. And then put them together, like Gyarados wearing a top hat and a monocle and a suit. I just think it's funny.
That is really funny.
And
I just don't want to be the Pokemon band when people are like, "Oh, have you heard that cool song?" It's like, "Oh yeah, is that Pokemon band?"
Nah, I think people will overlook it. They'll just see the funny imagery of Gyarados Jones.
Yeah, but without context, they won't laugh.
Let us know on my socials, radiomikepod@gmail.com as well, what you think. You debuted 4 seconds of one song on the Daily Talk Show where they talk every day so you don't have to. Let's debut, I'm going to cut in audio here of maybe 4 or 5 seconds of another song.
Yep.
This is probably one of my favourite songs we've written. We haven't developed it fully yet, but I'm really excited to hear it when we put it all together. Let's cut that here.
That's just a demo version. That's like...
None of these are mixed, are they?
No, they ain't mixed. That ain't the real thing.
That ain't the final mix.
That's a taste.
Just a
just
demo.
a little tasty taste.
Yum, yum.
I want more of that.
Yeah. I hope you guys like it and are excited for more. Hey, Jack. I wish I could talk to you forever. There's one thing we do every week on this podcast that the fans really like. I'm sure you know what it is, but if you don't, it's called this.
Harry Potter and the Boys. A live reading by Radio Mike.
You're a wizard, Harry. I'm a what?
What do you think of this? It's Harry Potter
I'm
and
so
the Boys.
I love it. I love it.
So I thought it would be
I
fun.
actually used to write a lot of stories as a kid as well. And you know what? I made my mum's quite a good drawer. I always made her draw the imagery. Yeah.
What's your mum's name?
Jill.
Jack Post story illustrated by Jill Post. So as a recap, I think in the last chapter they would...
Oh, let me see if I remember.
Oh, yeah,
they went to buy their shopping list for Hogwarts.
Yes.
Like a cauldron and a wand and stuff.
Yes.
They saw Fred.
Yeah, he was crying.
He was crying since his brother died, and they teased him.
So sadistic. I think it's Michael and Lockie who go up to Fred and say, "Oh, is your brother dead?" And then he's just crying. I don't know what went through my mind. I've actually printed chapter 4. I'm going to get you to read it, and we'll critique it together.
So you haven't read this yet? Chapter 4?
I've not read it. I printed it out backwards and stapled it together.
Okay.
But. This is Jack Post's live reading of Chapter 4 of Harry Potter and the Boys by Radio Mike. Go ahead, Jack.
Chapter 4 is called The Eventful Ride on Hogwarts Express.
You know, just on that, though, J.K. Rowling would never be like, all right, guys, this is Chapter 5, The Eventful Day at Hogwarts.
Well, yeah, so far it's been a very meta book. You referenced that you're writing a book many times.
Yes.
I think last week you said, I'm getting bored of this chapter.
Yeah, which I think is witty from 13-year-old Mike. But go ahead, Jack.
One day, they all started their journey to platform 9 3/4.
One day, this happened.
Not after the last chapter.
After they left Diagon Alley, they went to platform 9. One day, 2 years later.
Michael was an experienced flyer and flew his broomstick.
Why? People don't do that, but yeah.
Are the wizards allowed to fly around in normal life?
So.
I think they're going to be more sus than that.
Yeah.
Rob somehow just appeared there because I couldn't think of a way for him to get there. See, that's the meta writing when you. I really feel the author's voice here. Lockie flew his enchanted car with his dad.
Cheeky Chamber of Secrets steal.
Was a junior Olympic walking champion. Walked all the way.
So
he couldn't say he walked.
I've changed that name. It shouldn't be that. It should be I've changed that to Luke. I think that should be Luke. I'll bleep that name. That should be Luke, guys.
All right. So what other names why do you want to bleep the names?
Because they're based on real people, and they're people that I don't see anymore. But I don't want them to be humiliated.
Rob, you don't care about.
Some of them I've changed already.
Okay.
Yeah, I just missed that one.
Lockie's
fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sam and Tom were twins, and they used a port key.
Imagine this in Harry Potter. Harry went to Hogwarts. He flew his broomstick. Ron took the car, and Hermione walked.
And because you chose to focus on 6 or 7 characters, you feel the need to always explain how each of them did their
everything.
Sam and Tom were twins, and they used a port key. Those 5 paragraphs were completely pointless and used up a whole page! Exclamation mark.
Mike's aware of this.
When they arrived, as well, like it used up a whole page. Like, yes, my word count is being done, but you did this in your free time for your own leisure. When they arrived at King's Cross Station, they all began to run through the barrier. Here again, like there's 6 characters, so you've got to say, first went Rob, second went Lockie, third was Michael, fourth was Tom, fifth was Sam. Bang, crash.
Well, that's in caps.
Sorry. Bang, crash.
Thanks, man.
What's his new name?
His name's Luke.
Luke. What? Said Luke. The barrier sealed itself, just like in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Voldemort's here, just like in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, guys. Oh, guys, Darth Vader's here, just like in Star Wars Episode 4.
All right, so they're all running through, but this guy said, "What? Oh, the barrier's just sealed itself, just like in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets." "No, Sam," said Luke. "You ran into a train." I think that's meant to be, "No, Luke," said Sam, isn't it? "You ran into a train?"
Yeah, possibly.
Like, because
Yeah,
Luke,
it should be, because he's
Luke
just
is
said-
replying to himself there.
Yeah, Luke's replying to himself. Bloody
Oh, I
Mike.
think it's, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sam covered in blood, so maybe Sam was the one who ran into the wall.
Yeah.
Sam covered in blood and pus. What pus?
Just a cheeky pass.
Sam covered in blood and pus got up and went through the barrier. "Maybe you should see a doctor," said Rob after Sam had explained the whole story. "Never," replied Sam. He was very stubborn, in brackets.
He was very... Well, now we know more about Sam.
I
I'm
feel
glad we're
this
learning
is character
about him.
development. They all got onto one carriage on the bus. They all had their... It wasn't a train, Hogwarts Express?
Yeah. it does say bus. It's changed to... The Hogwarts Express is now a bus, apparently.
You changed it from train to bus to protect the train's identity. They all got into one carriage on the bus. They all had their pets as well. Here we go. We're going to learn everyone's pet, I bet. Lucky had a pet rat who was hopeless at everything. His name was Scabbits, and suddenly Lucky squished it, which ruins all my ideas for the third book. That's pretty funny.
Hang on.
In which Lucky's rat actually a fat guy called Peter Pottergrow.
So that's just a reference to Scabbers and Peter Pettigrew. So basically what's happened there is I've set it up as if it's
Sure.
it's going to be an echo of Prisoner of Azkaban, but then it's not, because Lucky accidentally kills his pet rat somehow. And yeah, that doesn't happen. Interesting.
Suddenly the third door slid open and a skinny weird, probably a fifth year, walked in. "I have to stay in here. Everywhere else is full," he said. He explained that he was a loner and he had no friends.
Hey guys, I'm a loner. I've got no friends. Just got to stay in here.
I'm sure you understand. Michael noticed that he had a strange birthmark on his forehead, shaped like a star.
I'm feeling some intense parallels here. Is this the new Harry Potter?
"Will you boys be my friend?" He stared at them with puppy dog eyes. The boys had no choice. "No," said Tom.
They had no choice. Of course they couldn't. They had no choice.
Wait, you said you were a loner and had no friends. No, we couldn't. The boy told them that his name was...
We have to change that as well. That's a real person. Let's call this guy... He hasn't appeared before. Let's call him... What do you reckon? You can name him.
Harold.
Okay, Harold.
The boy told him that his name was Harold. For the next 45 minutes, Harold blabbed on about why the Nimbus 2001 was better than the Nimbus 2000. The boys sat down, just listening to his terrible voice. He spoke with an idiotic lisp that no one wanted to hear. So wait, is this kid whose name we're beeping now a real guy who was a loser?
Oh,
That's so mean.
It's named after a real person, but it's not based on that person. I just needed names of people that I went to school with to do it.
All right, so he had a lisp. Finally, he went to left to use the bathroom. Rob got up quickly and locked the door.
Quick, don't let him back in.
About 5 minutes later, there was another knock at the door. They could see that it wasn't... they could see that it wasn't Harold because he was too short. They opened the door. A boy named... Do I have to change this?
No, that's the proper name that I've changed this already.
A boy named Derek, who was briefly mentioned on page 2, walked in.
Hey guys, this is Voldemort. He was briefly mentioned on page 1.
I can't wait to go to Hogwarts, he said. I hope I get in Gryffindor Jojo Jr. What does that mean? Is that a reference to the book?
It says, I hope I
get
into Gryffindor Jojo Jr. I have no idea what that means. Is that just like a typo?
Oh, here we go. We might find out in the next paragraph. What the bloody hell was he talking about? Asked and the train.
Luke.
Oh, sorry. Asked Luke, and the train continued to drive on the train tracks. End of the chapter. So wait, let me read that last bit of syntax again. What the bloody hell was he talking about? Asked Luke, and the train continued to drive, ... on, ... the train tracks, even though it was mentioned that it was a bus before, ... end of chapter. Wow, dude.
That was... I wonder what's going to happen next.
I know, well, we've got new characters now. We got the idiot that
we've got
everybody
Harold
hates.
and Well, Derek's already been in,
Yeah,
obviously.
he was on page 2.
He was on page... Well, there was a whole chapter devoted to him, which you apparently did.
I couldn't
Obviously,
remember.
you didn't listen to that episode.
I couldn't
of the
remember him
podcast.
straight away. That's why I was thankful to have in parentheses. He was
Actually-
briefly mentioned in page 2.
What'd you think of that?
I love it, man. You're such a creative writer.
Thanks, man.
But you know what? There's actually sparks of like you were trying to be funny in here, and it was funny.
Oh, thanks, man.
Like the boys had. He looked at them with puppy dog's eyes and said, "Will you boys be my friends?" The boys had no choice. No, said Tom. That's funny.
Hey, Jack, Cackling Jack Post. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll have to get you on again sometime when the band starts picking up and we put the music out.
Yeah, sure. Just a second. Hey, PA Jack, can we make some room in, what do you reckon, like May?
Aren't we? I thought we were aiming for like June.
Can you?
Well, maybe May. Yeah,
can
maybe
you clear
May.
a bit of a schedule, May, June, to do Mike's podcast? Oh, I don't know. Do you think it's really worth coming on again? Like low exposure, not many downloads. He's a friend. Come on, put him in. Oh, look, I'll pencil it in. I'll say we can move it if we get a better offer. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate. Christian O'Connell Show, mornings from 6 till 10 on Gold 104.3. You can catch Jack there. You can also hear him on the Hamish and Andy podcast. We start recording for that tomorrow. I believe the first day is Feb 28
is the first episode, I think. Yeah.
You can also follow him on Instagram at Jack Post. Anything else you want to plug, Jack?
Yeah, my Wikipedia, search Jack Post, and then you'll get the adjustable steel column.
Yeah.
Then click on the disambiguation or whatever it's called, where you have to select Jack Post Radio Presenter.
That's about all we got time for. You can follow me on Instagram, radio.mike, Twitter, it's Radio Mike. Email me any feedback. I'd love to hear any feedback or anything about the band names or anything you want me to talk about. RadioMikePod@gmail.com. It's been an absolute pleasure having Jack. We're going to do some band rehearsals now and some business-related stuff related to the band. I don't know. That's mainly Jack's thing.
No, it's not. Mine's rocking.
I think mine's creating musical fusion. Jack, thank you so much for coming on.
It was a pleasure.
There's one more thing that I do need to say, though. And just let me remember it. Oh, yeah, it's that my name is Radio Mike, and this is the inside of my mind. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.
Thanks, intern Mike. Do you want to left home?
I'm not allowed to get in a car with strangers, but yes.